Hello, everybody. Jeff Mason with SimpleBiz360 podcast, SimpleBiz360.com, and a book on Amazon of the same name. We are coming to you from beautiful St. Louis, Missouri, and in particular, Half Coast Studios with Matt and Dietz on the boards behind the glass, just bringing that crisp, clear sound to your ears and that vibrant color to your eyes. These guys do a great job. The studio has gotten just more and more sound, ready. Every week, these guys are constantly just making improvements, which we'll talk about a little later today. So we're just excited to have you. And if you are a listener today, we just want to paint a picture for you. We got an American flag here. We got a little T-shirt, a coffee mug, a book on the table, and then we have a icon in the back called the Can Do Attitude Challenge. So we're going to talk about can do today. What do I mean by that? Well, just think of this. Have you ever heard this from companies? Well, we've never done that before. We've never done it that way before. I don't think ownership would be interested. We don't know how to make that. That's too much work for our team. We don't have the resources to do that. Sorry. No, we don't work that way. It's not on the menu. I'm sorry. You'll have to find another company to do that. So, I get it. There's a lot of risk versus reward that companies have to gauge and measure and look at when a customer comes to them with a request that might be out of the ordinary. But what we want to park on today is the can-do attitude challenge. We want to raise questions today and get you to think, can you do some things you thought you couldn't? And are you a can-do company or a can't-do company? I think you guys are out there in listening land knowing this is resonating with you, because I couldn't tell you how many associate conversations I have had in my 35 years of business where we're driving in a car, eating lunch, grabbing a beer after work, or wherever we are, at work, in an office, and we constantly hear somebody say, I'm so sick and tired of this company being a can't-do company. And we all know what that's like. And many of us are suffering some significant losses in business because we don't recognize opportunities for, being can-do companies. So, what are we missing? But are we missing ways to please the customer and other capabilities? That's really the question. What are we really looking at here? So I'm going to give you a couple stories just to kind of paint this picture and show you what some can-do situations look like versus can't do. But I was in charge of sourcing fabrics for many years, and in USA fabrications, if you went to mills in the U.S. and asked for production, you oftentimes got these responses that, by the nature of their business structure, they were slow. They required big orders. They required this to be adopted as a stock color or stock fabric, and they were expensive. And then when I used to go over to Hong Kong or deal with my Hong Kong team and we'd work on Asian fabrics, what I found unique was they were always very, very small fabric runs. They were fast. They could do custom colors, and they could deliver at a lower price point. And, we need sample yardage to make a lot of apparel to show these retailers what this apparel looks like, and to be able to buy 100 yards of fabric in Asia in a color we want, in a fabrication weave we want, and then make samples out of it is ultra important. And the mills in the USA that were mired in that big, slow, giant machine, they suffered, and many of them went out of business eventually. They just couldn't compete. We couldn't wait around till we got 25,000 yards of fabric orders, and we had to move quicker and more nimbly. And Asia presented those solutions to us. So that's where some a set of companies said, we can do this, and a set of companies said, we can't do. Think of my mortgage in Princeton, New Jersey. I got a home mortgage one time, and I went through 3 loan officers. And in this process, what eventually happened was I was not putting 20% down on my purchase. We were a young family, couldn't afford it. And so I would have to pay PMI insurance, right? If it was under that 20% down payment. And going through these different loan officers, it came down to crunch time. Our house is being built. We put a deposit on it. And now all of a sudden they go, you know what? I get this message one day, you're going to have to cough up another 10%. We can't figure out the PMI. I said, what? How is this? I said, I can't fork over another 10% down. Well, I'm sorry. That's the best we can do. So what did I do? I got in the car one day. I put together a folder, an easel-backed notebook, and I put pictures of my family in there, pictures of the home being built, drove down to this Princeton, New Jersey location, sat in the parking lot from 7:15. At 7:30, I figured one of the big executives is going to have to roll in the parking lot first, right, and open up the place. Sure enough, general manager came rolling in, and I presented him. He gave me the time in his conference room. I presented him with these pictures and this storyline that I painted for the guy. And you know what it was? He came back and told me, I am so sorry. We got everything straightened out. It was just a bunch of loan officers that were too dang lazy to do the facsimiles and to do the legwork to get you approval to only put 10% down versus 20% down. Can do, can't do, right? German chocolate cake request. We had these lovely ladies on a couple weeks ago, Kara and Julie from Scratch Bakehouse in Wentzville, Missouri. So my wife's birthday came up recently. I called them up and I said, hey, is there an opportunity for you guys to make a gluten-free German chocolate cake? No problem. Well, let me tell you something. This was probably, hands down, the best cake in my 62 years of life that I've ever eaten. This thing was outrageous. All kinds of gooey, lovely, excellent. You never would have known it was gluten-free. But you know what? We can do it versus can't do. They said yes. Now, when you think of Half Coast Studios, right where we are today, beautiful example of things. All right, we got Alex Dietrich, who is half owner of it with his brother. And from the time I started talking to these gentlemen about going into doing podcasts and doing things, they showed me and demonstrated from moment one that their business DNA was a can-do DNA, right? Right out of that yellow icon, right behind me. I mean, it was clear as a bell. And you know what? Since then, I've seen them. Improvement is something that they do constantly, and nobody has to put it in their ear. Every time I come in here to the studio, check out what else we've done, Jeff. What's that? And just a few moments ago, before we started this podcast, they clapped inside their little office where they have where they're behind the glass working the boards. They clapped, and you could hear this echo. And then they clapped in this room, and it just absorbed the clap sound. They have worked tirelessly week after week. Every time I come in, they're doing something to improve the sound quality, to improve the visual experience, to improve the experience. And so, I just have to say, I've never been met with, we can't do that. I've always been met with, well, we haven't done that, but let me look into it. So again, it's a great opportunity to highlight 4 can-do stories that, you don't have to be a can't-do company. You can be a can-do company. So the real questions I leave you with are right on this icon mural behind me. Are you flexible enough to invite the can-do attitude? You have to be flexible enough to say, you know what, I'm willing to give that a try. So flexibility and willingness, and then the creativity to deliver on that challenge. That's what it is. It's an attitude challenge. Just think of how many business opportunities you may have missed over life or with your own company where you've taken that approach. We can't do that. It's not on the menu. We've never done it that way before. Oh, I don't think we can do that. Now we'd have the resources for it, blah, blah, blah. And I get it. There's some situations, like I said in the onset, where that is warrants that risk versus reward, and you just can't do it. But there are so many opportunities where you can do it. So do you take the challenge or not take the challenge? I hope you do. And here's what I would like to leave us with today. And I got to show you this. This is great. I was just pulling clothes out of the dryer, putting clothes in the dryer before I came. And I noticed my wife had purchased this long sleeve T-shirt at a secondhand store for one of my grandsons. And of course, we love rock and roll here, and anything to advance it. And I mean, it's a lot of fun to advance things here. And we just want to say, look, making customers happy. What do they feel like? It's the middle of summer. I bet you they'd be dancing in the streets. Now, who would they be dancing in the streets with? Well, I'm going to give you the Van Halen version because, I mean, there's a lot of good, cool versions out there. But Van Halen's Dancing in the Streets, they did this cover in 1982. It's an actual Marvin Gaye, Ivy Hunter, and William Stevenson collaboration. But, man, Eddie Van Halen, David Lee Roth, and the gang do an awful nice job on it. So, hey, let your customers dance in the streets a little bit. Guys, we thank you for tuning in today, and we hope you take this challenge. Flexibility, willingness, creativity. Don't forget, customer perceptions, customer reality. Do everything you can to make sure you warm up to making it a better customer perception. Respond to all inquiries, follow up, and always follow through. We'll see you next week, guys.